Hey, Franco, thanks for being here today.
Hey, thank you.
All right, so let's break down just how bad things really are with the federal government's Global Affairs Canada Department. Now, we just rattled off a few wild examples of global affairs waste, booze, sex toy exhibitions, and rather preposterous ideological governance programs around the world. So, in your research, what are some of the most egregious examples of government waste that you've uncovered?
Well, speaking of sex toys, there was another sex toy show that the government of Canada funded to the tune of 8,800 smackers. Okay. The government spent almost 9 grand on a sex toy show in Germany called Whose Jizz Is This? Yes, that actually happened, paid for with your money. And, hey, call me old fashioned, but if the Germans want to have a sex toy show, they can pay for it themselves. It shouldn't be taken from Canadian taxpayers' money. Now, I got a couple crazy other examples. Okay, the government spent $1,700 on a musical called Lesbian Pirates. Yes, that actually happened. But here's probably the craziest one. Okay, the government through Global Affairs Canada dropped $12,500 so senior citizens in other countries could talk about their sex lives in front of live audiences. Now, I don't know about you, but when I heard from my parents to listen to my elders, I don't think this is what they're talking about. And remember, folks, these weren't even Canadian seniors. It turns out the government is outsourcing old people sex stories.
In fairness, I don't think it would have been any better if they were Canadians. So, one of the common threads in global affairs One of the common threads in global affairs spending is that it all seems to align with Trudeau's government's priorities. In other words, diversity, gender equality, climate change, and DEI. So, are we just looking at a government's department acting as a slush fund for ideology rather than focusing on Canada's best interests?
Well, the government is definitely using woke as a cloak and forcing taxpayers to go broke, right? The government essentially thinks that it can throw out these terms like gender or climate change and use it as a blank check or a license to spend Canadian taxpayers' money. Let me just give you a couple more examples, right? So the government spent 8,100 bucks to organize DJ workshops in Turkey and Georgia for the LGBT community to quote bring more diversity into the world of DJing. And there's many different examples like that, and it's also happening here in Canada abroad where the government is using this cloak to waste taxpayers money and in big ways. For example, the federal government put taxpayers on the hook for about $30 billion in corporate welfare to multinational corporations like Honda, Volkswagen, Stellantis, and Northvolt. So you're seeing the government waste money abroad. You're also seeing use the cloak to waste our money here in Canada too.
Okay, so the big picture here is that we're talking about billions of dollars being funneled into ideological projects around the world while Canadians struggle to pay rent. So, how big is this problem really? Is GAC the worst offender, or is it just one part of a larger spending problem in Ottawa?
Well, when it comes to government waste, Global Affairs Canada could be the worst waste offender in the entire federal government, and that's saying a lot. But it's not just Global Affairs Canada, it is happening across the departments. And if you look at the broader spending on foreign aid from the government of Canada, in the last year available, the government spent more than $15 billion in foreign aid. Well, let's put that into perspective, right? What's more than $15 billion? Well, it's about the same amount of money that the federal government sent to the provinces through the Canada Social Transfer, right? Money to Canadian provinces for post secondary education, money to Canadian provinces for social services. Or let's go one step further, right? If you look at 15 plus $billion in foreign aid, well, that's almost 3 times more than what the entire Department of Veteran Affairs spent in that year. So this is a huge sum of money. And what we need the government do is to open up the books, go line by line, and take a chainsaw to this wasteful spending.
Yeah, so one more quick question for you before we take a break. You've seen the Department of Government Efficiency down in the United States. Do you think that we could benefit from something like this, given what you've uncovered?
Well, the way that this government has been overspending and wasting money for years, finding savings in every area of the budget should be like finding water in the ocean. All of this should have been happening for a long time, and all of this can and should happen within Canada's own finance department.
All right, so 2 votes for the Doge program in Canada. Let's go. We'll be right back, guys.